What's up? How you doing today? Hey, just a few things to go over at the end of this video about a few changes that we're making just in the way we do Sunday mornings in order to save some money on print and things like that. So hang tight, follow through the video, and then we'll talk about it at the end. First of all, this week's lesson is going to be on Joseph, the dreamer who became a slave. And we're starting into the story of Joseph, and we are going to be talking about the very beginning of his life. So we start off talking about reviewing about his birth and where he lines up in the family of Jacob. Then we'll spend a good amount of time talking about how he just kind of tells it as he sees it. He talks about his dreams. We'll talk about how he's daddy's favorite and he gets the coat of many colors. We'll talk about how his brothers seek to get revenge and have him thrown into the pit. And then we're going to have three discussion questions that we're going to be discussing, and I'd like for you to make sure that you are spending a good amount of time with those discussion questions, just being ready to talk about it. First of all, why do you think Joseph's brothers despise Joseph so much based upon this chapter? As you go through the chapter, there's just a few things that Joseph does that leads his brothers to really despise who he is as a person, and so we want to talk about that a little bit. Then, what are some of the long-term lessons that can be learned from his brother's plot to kill Joseph, but ultimately ending up selling him into slavery and faking his death? Those are just some valuable lessons that come from there, such as the plots that they make end up being what God will use to save their life. So they make this plot ultimately to end Joseph's life, and it ends up being that the plot that they make actually ends up being what saves them later on. And then the last question is, what are some good things that could possibly come from situations that are tough that we go through on a regular basis and we just maybe can't see what God is doing in the future. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are coming. First of all, in a desire to save some more budget space, and as we go into next year, I've just done a bit of an analysis and realized we print a lot of stuff and kill a lot of trees, and so it is my desire to help us get to a better place with that. So here's what we are doing. We are only going to print from now on 20 actual handout bulletins a week. All right, we still will email them to the parents weekly. We still will do announcements, but we're going to do announcements with a PowerPoint. So we'll be having a PowerPoint hooked up on the appropriate monitors in each room that will be scrolling through and flashing the announcements up before class starts, and then whoever is giving announcements can also use that. I know the 9:30 impact class, we don't do announcements, but you do it as a small group, so you can just make sure you draw some attention to the screen as it rotates by. But that's going to be a new change. There will be still a few paper copies available, but there aren't very many people who really actually want the paper copies. Also, we're going to stop producing the devotional booklets in the way that we do them now. Instead, what we're going to do is simplify the lessons printout and get it down to a half sheet of paper. And then on the bottom of that printout, we're going to give the scripture reading that will allow the kids to be prepared for their next series of lessons on Wednesday nights and on Sundays as well. And so this will give them those references so that they can take that home, they can read through those and be prepared for the next week. Also, we'll be adding a memory verse. So we're going to use the fighter verses. So we'll just put a memory verse on each week as well for people to be able to memorize. So I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful one, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.